Roy Nemer, mundoalbiceleste.com, on X at Roy Nemer, Nemer Nemer, and all everything is there on mundoalbiceleste.com and on X.
What's it been like to hold the title of World Cup champion for the last 3.5 years, bro?
Man, it's the first time ever, technically. I mean, I was alive for 1990, but I was young, so I never really got to fully experience it. But it's cool going in as defending champions for the first time. You know, the reigning, defending, undisputed World Cup, back-to-back Copa America. I'm throwing it out there, back-to-back finalissima champions. Spain out. I'm not going to use the word that they normally use, but Spain opted out, so by default, Argentina wins. So it's good, man. Five, what is it? 2, 3, 4, five titles in like 4 years. I'm good with that. It's good. A bit humble, keeping it
Because
humble.
I remember 8 years ago when we first did this, I asked you about the World Cup, and you were kind of like, it was like, it would be cool if we get it, but it's not make or break. Certainly in the context of Messi.
Yeah.
But for the context of the national team, as someone who follows the national team probably most of your life, it must be like a real fun thing that you've been able to have.
No, it has been. All jokes aside, it really, really has been. And I was optimistic in 2022. Like 2018 was like, if we somehow do it, that'd be amazing. But no hopes. 2022 was one where it was like, no, I think we gotta win this. Like I don't see anyone better than us. I really didn't. I was right. This time we'll talk about 2026, but it's been good, and I don't know about you, but like as an Argentina fan, I still see a lot of doubters. Like I still see a lot of doubters about Argentina, even after winning it. Like, oh, they're not a good team. I'm like, how are Argentina not a good team? Like, you get what I mean? But it's the haters. The haters are gonna hate, as they say. But it's been good. It's been solid. It's been cool. Especially the celebrations afterwards, right? Whether in the streets or even in the stadium, the first two games in Argentina, you saw the fans, you saw the support, because it hasn't always been easy for the players. Obviously, Messi, but overall, the players for the last 20 years or so, more if you want to go further, it's never been easy. It's always been, well, they can't win a title. Then they won the Copa America, and I was like, well, Copa America is not the World Cup. They got to win the World Cup, and then they win the World Cup, and it's like, okay, wait a minute. Now you got to fully enjoy. So it's been good.
Cool. How's this World Cup being anticipated by Argentina fans, do you think?
Uh, Still a lot of optimism. I don't know if a lot of people are as optimistic as they were in 2022, just because if you look at the starting 11 in 2026, it's almost carbon copy from what we had in 2022. Good thing is though that the coach Scaloni is not worried or not afraid of changing things up, especially during the World Cup, because that's essentially what he did in 2022 to win the World Cup, bringing in Enzo Fernandez, Julian Alvarez, making the changes that were needed. This time, it's there are some question marks. The fullbacks, Nicolas Otamendi, is he going to start alongside Christian Romero, or is it going to be Lisandro Martinez? You got the form, Alexis McAllister, not in the best of forms right now, Enzo Fernandez. But overall, I think people are optimistic. It's just people are always going to doubt Argentina, but I think they're optimistic. And for me, anyways, they're definitely one of the favorites.
Is there a difference, and I'm asking everyone this, do you find a difference between Argentina supporters and Argentinian media? In other words, are the fans more optimistic and the media more pessimistic? Does that through line translate across country? I'm tending to find yes.
You know what? I feel like maybe for the first time in a long time, it's kind of the opposite. I feel like the media might be a little bit more optimistic than the fans,
Okay.
but it's tough to tell at times, because let's say someone has one player has a bad match, and you go online and everyone's like, "Oh my God, this position is destroyed. This guy had a bad match. He's gonna have a bad World Cup." I'm like, "Well, wait a minute, it's one match. Take it easy." Whereas in the media, they'll hype it up, Uh, so maybe this might be one of the like rare instances or rare cases going into a World Cup where maybe the media might be more optimistic than the fans.
Cool. So you kind I'm asking everyone this as well. I'm asking you to play kind of TV doctor for me and assess the health of Argentinian football, both domestically and its ability to export players. Would you say Argentinian football on a whole is in a healthy place or in an unhealthy place relative to its own standard?
Man, that's a very good question. How long you got? It's
About 5 minutes.
about 5 minutes. Okay, well, we'll try and cut it short. Look, it depends what way you look at it. To be very honest, because the federation itself, the structure of the current league, is in shambles. To be very honest, it's not good. If you're talking about the players within the league, still good. You could still they're still exporting players. It's not like it was 20 years ago or 30 years ago where every single year you have like 5, 10 players, big name players making the switch over to Europe. Now it's a little less, but you still get those names, right? Most recently, I mean, last couple of years, you look at Enzo Fernandez, you look at Julian Alvarez. Those are two big names. Christian Romero, uh, Lisandro Martinez, although his trajectory might have been a little bit different. So you do have that at Echeverri and a couple of other players. So the talent is still there. Might not get the same number of players being exported per year as maybe 20, 30 years ago, still there. The league itself is not the strongest league in South America. Brazil has the strongest league in South America. In my opinion, it's not even a question of, or up to debate. The federation has some problems, but the talent is still there. The conveyor belt of talent continues, which is obviously a very important thing.
Cool. Wait, and I'm learning to ask this question as well. Where does the talent come from in Argentina? Does it come from rural areas? Is it coming from the cities? Like where is football played exactly?
I mean, obviously, Buenos Aires being, the big one. You get some outside of Buenos Aires. You get some like in Mendoza and Cordoba. So, for example, someone like a Paulo Dybala is not from Buenos Aires. If I'm not mistaken, he's from Cordoba. And then obviously Rosario with Messi and Di Maria and a lot of other players as well. And this is something that, going back maybe just to the question right before, a difference between, let's say, Argentina and Brazil is if you look at the national teams, Argentina obviously doing considerably better than Brazil, at least at the time of recording. And so this is something I've thought of, and this is something a lot of the former Brazilian players have even said. They said Brazil has lost their ID, has lost their identity, because a lot of the players are leaving super young, and they're going over to Europe, and a lot of them to the Premier League. So they lose that flair, that creativity. Whereas in Argentina, they tend to stay in Argentina maybe a little bit longer. So you still get that, the feeling of maybe they're playing in the streets and they're still surrounded by loved ones. They still get to play games and play locally, as opposed to making the jump over to Europe and adapting to a specific kind of league like the Premier League, which is very different from the South American leagues.
So how did Argentina qualify? What was the process?
It's easy. It's Argentina. I mean, no, it's look. I mean, this time in South America, obviously the expansion of the teams made it so that there are more South American teams qualifying. I think it was more difficult not to qualify for the World Cup in South America than it was to actually qualify. Argentina did very well. It has to be said, but they've been doing well for years now. Thankfully, it wasn't the most difficult of qualifying campaigns. But they had some good performances, some very good performances. One that stands out was against Brazil, just about a year ago, maybe just over a year ago, March of last year, if I'm not mistaken, where I think it was a 4-1 win or 5-1 win, but it could have been much more. And Argentina, they were just dancing around the Brazilians. So there's some very good performances. It wasn't the most difficult of qualifying campaigns, to be very honest.
What's been the kind of preparation for this World Cup? Do you know where they're going to be based? And
Uh,
maybe some friendlies that they're trying to pick to maybe tune up Algeria,
yeah.
Austria, and Jordan.
Yeah, they're gonna be based, if I'm not mistaken, it's in Kansas City. If I'm not mistaken. Yeah, so it's not it's not like a New York or Miami or Los Angeles. It's gonna be there. They're gonna be playing two friendly matches. One is versus Iceland, so a team that they faced in the opening match in 2018, and the other one, if I'm not mistaken, is Honduras. Both of those games are going to take place in the United States right before the World Cup, about a week before or so. So that's the preparation, and the preparation has been a big talking point among Argentine fans and the media, but more specifically the fans, because since Argentina qualified, they haven't faced the top 10 or maybe top 20 European nation. To be very honest with you, it's always been, and no disrespect to any of the opponents, but it's been like Angola and like Honduras or El Salvador. And it's like, okay, they're opponents, but it's not a European giant, so to speak. So that's been a big talking point going into the World Cup.
Did they get you to go to Africa? Like, did you think about buying tickets and going to the
I
games?
I did not, the match specifically in Angola, and I think I'd like to go to Africa one day. It's a big continent, some beautiful countries there, but I've never got the chance. And no, not to Angola, not specifically. I don't know about you, but not me. No.
No, my people are from Uganda, so I've been,
Okay.
thankfully. Um,
Okay.
what is the state of Scaloni? So obviously we know he's not the biggest international name or the biggest name in management. But what he's able to do for Argentina, it just seems like it clicks. So, what are our fans happy with him, and what should we expect from the team in terms of style of play?
Yeah, no, the fans are very happy with him. Obviously, you're always going to have some people questioning some of his decisions in terms of, why is a 38-year-old Nicolas Otamendi still in the team? There has to be some reason. So, yes, you do have some of those questions, of course, which I think is normal with any coach. But it's crazy to think that someone that has won as much as he won, like Scaloni, still gets questioned sometimes. But no, he's good. He's expected to remain as coach even after the World Cup. Uh, he adapts, and he has continued to show that throughout his entire tenure as coach. We saw it at the World Cup. He continues to adapt to the match, to the opponent. He'll play a 4-3-3, and then he'll play a 4-4-2, or he'll play a 5-3-2, depending on the opponent. We saw it versus the Dutch, where he played a back line of 5 or 3, depending on how you want to look at it, with possession of the ball, without possession of the ball. And then, the match before was a 4-3-3, or then, so he does adapt, which is a good thing. And what are we going to expect from Argentina? Sorry, that was the second part of the question.
Yeah.
At the World Cup, it's Scaloni. It's what to expect, but in a way you don't know what to expect. We're going to get maybe the regular, quote unquote, regular starting 11, I think, in the opening match versus Algeria. But I do expect to see some changes happening in the second game and third game. I think some of the players that will start the first game might not be starting the second or third. I think there's going to be some changes going on in the tournament for Scaloni.
So let's just address the pink goat in the room. Um, Messi, he's coming back. Were you expecting this after seeing them lift the trophy and they put the little gown on him and they did everything? Were you expecting like we're gonna get another 3.5, 4 years out of Messi? And why does he come back to the national team? Is it just the brotherhood, the team ethos? Like, what is it?
That's a tough one. Did we expect it? Look, December 18th, 2022, lifting the World Cup trophy. I don't think anyone expected him to be there in 2026, to be very honest with you. But if you look at the table, or the timetable of things, where it was won the World Cup in 2022, he wasn't going to retire right away. He was going to do, I'm not necessarily saying like a retirement tour, but just playing a match or two in Argentina to celebrate. And then after that happened, you had the World Cup qualifiers starting, so he took part in that. And then the next year was the Copa America. And it's like, okay, well, he's going to play the Copa America, and that's going to be his retirement. That's going to be it. Go on, win the Copa America, and then people are like, well, we're in the middle of the qualifying campaign. Is he really going to stop now? And then you get to the end of the qualifying campaign, and it's, well, World Cup is next year, right? So I think looking back after the World Cup in 2022, I think many, myself included, probably thought, okay, this is it. He'll play 1 or 2 matches in Argentina. It's going to be his retirement, and that will be it. But as it went on, it said, oh, okay, no, he'll play in 2026. And despite it not yet technically being confirmed, I think it would be just a shock if he wasn't there.
Yeah, it's an interesting one because you could leave on top, low key, but the decision to return is a little bit of a risk. But then, if you win, this one on my shirt right here, this is Maradona. It's like number 10.
Yeah,
it's podcast merch. Don't worry about it. But like,
cool, I like it,
you would be competing with like if he already isn't ahead of Maradona, that second one is like, come on, like what are we talking about here? Like this, it's even Pelé, the other one, he's him. You know what I mean?
He's him, and for many, he's already him. For many, he's already the greatest of all time. And as crazy as this sounds, I think even if, let's say, Argentina win the World Cup, Messi lifts the trophy, he has 2 World Cup trophies, you're still gonna have some people somehow. So I mean, you know what I'm talking about.
But like, the haters, no, there's haters. There's a lot of haters.
The haters, like, oh, this or that. But for me, undoubtedly the greatest. For people that say Maradona is better, I completely understand, and I will not argue it, because I watched Maradona at the very tail end of his career. I've gone back, I've watched his World Cup matches, I've watched some of his matches with Napoli, with Barcelona, and even later on with Boca Juniors when he went back to Boca. So I saw that. I didn't live it week by week like I have with Messi his entire career since he started. So I'm obviously a little bit biased. That's why I'm saying if someone says Maradona is better, I won't argue. I will not argue at all. But Messi still has that drive, and he has that will, that determination of wanting to win, and you see the called brotherhood, I don't know, of the national team, just how close knit everyone is, and you kind of understand maybe a little bit better as to why he hasn't stepped aside just yet.
So let's dig a little bit deeper into the squad. I'm thinking primarily of players like Enzo and McAllister, who have been in teams, certainly in the Premier League, that haven't performed to their level. Do you expect a different version of them in the national team?
We tend to see different versions of them with the national team, and that's one of the main differences when it comes to Argentina national team players when they play with their clubs and when they play with the national team, because they might not be performing at the very best with their club, but with the national team, whenever they put that shirt on, that's it. It's they give it 100%. And I'm not worried about McAllister. I'm not worried about Enzo. There are other worries in the national team. Some positions that will make me think twice. It's like, oh boy, it's going to be a tough one if this player goes down or if something happens to this
What's an
player.
example? What's an example?
The right back position, or even the left back position. The left back position, we have Nicolas Tagliafico, who is extremely consistent. I love him. I think he's one of the more underrated players, if not the most underrated player in the national team. Does not put a foot wrong. Thing is, we don't really have a backup for him. Marcos Acuna is not in good form. He hasn't really been called up to the national team much, and if he hasn't played very well. If he has played, so we don't have a backup. People mentioned Valentin Barco. Valentin Barco is excellent in midfield with Strasbourg over in France. The reason why I mentioned Barco is because Barco, when he was with Boca, was started off as a left back, then became a left wing back, then became a left midfielder, and then just overall a midfielder. So there is no left back for Argentina that's really a solid backup that has been picked for Tagliafico. The right back position, we have two. We have Molina of Atletico Madrid, Mr. Puskas himself, and then we have Gonzalo Montiel, who scored the winning penalty for Argentina versus France to win the World Cup. Molina's been good with Atletico. He's had his ups and downs. Lately, he's been in good form. Montiel, not as much. So if something happens to Molina, we don't really have a backup. Believe it or not, going back to Tagliafico, our backup to Tagliafico is Nicolas Gonzalez of Atletico Madrid, the left wing. He's our backup. So those are the two big positions, primarily the two positions that have pretty much every Argentina fan, I won't say worried, but definitely it's the two positions that we're looking to see, okay, what's going to happen if something happens.
I'm gonna pluck two more names. One of them an Atletico player, one a Real Madrid player. Mastantuono's development at Real Madrid. How do you feel like that's going, even though it's quite early on? And then I'll tag on to that if you'll remember. If not, I'll remind you. Julian Alvarez, or Julian Alvarez? Is it his time to take the keys?
Oh, I like that. Two very good questions. Masantuono, starting off with him. I don't know if moving to Madrid was the best choice, and I think a lot of people had that opinion. Just because it's Madrid, it's a big team. Where is he going to play up front? Is the competition that Madrid has up front. Yes, they have a World Cup winner in Mbappe and a world-class player, of course, but we see the problems that they have right now and the coaching and everything that happened. He did well at the start of the season. I mean, he was getting minutes and everything, so it wasn't bad. But if you're going to make the jump over from South America to a club like Real Madrid or a club like Barcelona, at that age, you got to be one of the best players in the world, or you got to get some sort of confirmation from the coach saying, no matter what, you're going to get X amount of playing time. And for Mastantuono, he's been picked for Argentina by Scaloni often, if not every single time this entire year, which, hey, it's good for him. He hasn't, he's still young, so I feel bad saying this, but he hasn't shown that level just yet with Argentina, and dare I say maybe even with Real Madrid. He's super talented, extremely talented. He's definitely one for the future. I don't know if he's one for the now. There's another one for the now, but it's not Mastantuono in my opinion.
Who is it? Who's for the now?
Nico Paz.
Ah.
Nico Paz of Como. This guy
your favorite player's favorite player, or your favorite pundit's favorite player, like that
there
guy.
you go. There you go. He's something else. He's something else. And I could see him getting kind of that, like the way Enzo and the way Julian stepped up in 2022. I definitely see Nico Paz becoming a starter, or if not a starter, playing a massive positive role for Argentina in 2026 at the World Cup. 100%.
Alvarez. Every time I watch him, I think he's the one. Like the way he strikes the ball is so clean, movement amazing, technique amazing. but then there feels like there's a little bit of something. I don't know what it is about him, but it's something like he doesn't get the kind of credits
The
that I
recognition.
feel like he deserves. Yeah, the recognition. Is he the next one to take over the national team, or is there a bunch of people competing for it?
There's a, I think there's a bunch of people competing for it, but really quickly when he was with Manchester City and he was obviously playing very well and with Haaland and everything. Haaland's the big name, the goal scorer. I posted this a bunch of times. Some people agreed with me, some people didn't. I said Julian Alvarez could be just as important, if not more important, to Manchester City than Haaland. Haaland brings you goals 100%, which in a way is what wins you games, right? That and defense. But when Haaland's not scoring, no disrespect, he's not doing much. Julian, if he's not scoring, he'll do everything. He'll assist, he'll track back, he'll defend, he'll cross, he'll score, he'll do everything. You get what I mean? And I do agree. I think the fact that he's playing with Atletico Madrid, who's obviously now not in the Champions League anymore, got eliminated, will not win the league, didn't win the Copa del Rey, he's not going to get that recognition. But
Yeah.
people who watch football and watch Atletico and specifically watch Julian know how good he is and how important of a player he is. To put up some of the numbers and some of the performances that he has with Atletico Madrid, going up against Barcelona, going up against Real Madrid, and in Europe, in the Champions League, that's super impressive. It's just the fact that he's not playing for Barcelona or Real, who's technically more often than not the ones competing and winning the trophies. That I think is what's hurting him, at least amongst the
I
fans.
would like to see him move to Barca if he could get that done. Just go ahead and
Please,
do that.
please, please. I've
They
oh
need a
man, you have no
striker,
idea.
and
You have
they need
no
a
idea.
striker, and you'll be able to play a little bit better brand of football, you would think, than at Atletico. So,
And he's everywhere. He could play everywhere on the pitch. Center
yeah.
forward, striker, left wing, right wing. Probably put him defensive midfielder. He'll do well.
If
It,
Marcus can work, then Julian can definitely work. You know what I mean?
oh, Julian could work. Julian could work.
So, I'm keeping my eye on the clock.
No.
Floor, ceiling. How bad can this be, and how good can this be?
Oh boy, that's a big one. I don't think it's going to be like a 2022 because that's like the floor, right? 2022 is you get eliminated in the group stages. I don't think it's going to be that. I think it's going to be very, very far from that. I think it's going to be a difficult. It's going to be a difficult group. I think more difficult than some people imagine. I think Argentina will make it out of the group. I'd love to think so, especially now that it's three teams qualifying pretty much. No, I think it's going to be a good World Cup for Argentina. I really, really think so. I'm saying this while I knock on wood, and I want to say it, but I don't want to say it. I think we could get a repeat of 2022. Sorry, I really think it's possible, but it's going to be tough. It's you're already looking at what was it potentially if Argentina finished first or second in the group. What was it potentially Uruguay or Spain in the round of 16 or round of
Oof.
30, whatever. They're like, it's going to be tough. It's going to be very difficult. But I think with Argentina, a lot of people are underrating them and they're going for Spain and France, and rightfully so. Don't get me wrong; those are two very good teams. But I think Argentina is up there alongside France and Spain. I think we could get a repeat of 2022. No team has repeated a World Cup in was it 40 years now or 50 years or something? Back-to-back champions. Uh,
56 and
50,
60? Or 58, 62.
58, 62, right? Brazil.
Yeah.
So that I mean, it's difficult. France came close 3 years ago, 3, 4 years ago. So it's very difficult. I'm not. Do you want me to predict like a specific round or?
It's open for your interpretation.
Look, I think anything less than semifinals. I think not even at that. It's tough. It's tough.
It
I would
is.
not be surprised if we get a repeat. I really wouldn't. It's just you never know. It's a World Cup. I mean, Argentina lost the opening round with Saudi Arabia. Like the opening match. Sorry. So it's like what's going on? It's tough to predict. I wouldn't be surprised if they win the World Cup. I'm being very very honest. This is not me being arrogant or anything like that. Just because I think the team is that good and can beat any team in the world. But it's in a knockout game. Anything can eliminate you, right?
Yeah.
So I'll leave it at that. I won't give any specifics.
So I'm gonna remove Argentina, and I've been asking everyone who's gonna win the World Cup. The teams I've heard most are, as you would most obviously predict, France and Spain. Who are you most worried about? Like, what team out there do you look at and you think this team could give us the most trouble based on, as you've pointed out, some deficiencies potentially in defense? Is there any team that you look at, whether they have Yamal, whether they have Mbappe and Dembele? Are there anybody you look at you like, damn, I'm 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 not confident if we play them.
So I'm gonna say something super controversial. I'm gonna say France and Spain, by the way, because I
Okay.
think based off the wingers that France have, the attack they have obviously is solid. And then you look at some of the wingers that Spain have. I'm not as worried about Spain's attack as I am about France. Uh, Lamine Yamal, of course, super talented, best young player in the world, by far. My big thing, and this is me, this is my, I don't want to say South American bias. I don't even want to say that, but it's just I've never every I've never seen, or I want to see how Lamine Yamal would do against a physical South American team, like one that has no problems clipping both your legs and destroying you, no matter the name, because that's how it is in South America, right? Like we get that. So I'm curious to see how someone like him would perform. Obviously, at a World Cup, you got to watch out, or else it's a red card. But outside of Lamine Yamal, Spain's attack doesn't worry me. I know this sounds absolutely crazy and super controversial. It doesn't worry me, at least not nearly as much as France.
Mm.
With that said, France are a very good team. Spain are a very good team. Portugal are the big dark horse for me going into the World Cup. I think they're solid from the back to the front. They have a very good team. No, like seriously, they have a very good
No, no,
team.
no,
They
no. Because you mentioned nobody's mentioned Portugal yet. So, but now the narrative in my mind is playing of like, bro, if Cristiano wins the World Cup, that thing that was like buried over there just kind
yeah,
of it just lifts itself out of the dirt, and it's just
yeah.
like we're back.
Oh no, we're not back. That's done and dusted even
The,
before this.
the debate will be
Yeah,
back, Roy.
no. It's the debate of what? Of people arguing online, people that like, come on, no,
Yes.
no. I know what you're getting at. I know what you're getting at. But no, honestly, all jokes aside, Portugal have a very good team. They really do. I don't know specifically how their bracket looks like or how their group looks like. I think they have Colombia in their group, but I can't remember who the other two teams. I think they have a solid team. France is good. Spain is good. People are going to mention England, but it's England. All respect, it's England. They could score 50 goals in the group stages. The second they face half a decent team, they get eliminated in every single tournament. I'm sorry. I'm not hating. It's facts. I'm not hating. It's really that. Um, I'm trying to think who else could really make a run.
Brazil,
People,
we haven't mentioned. No. All right.
no. Look, they could win. It's Brazil, right? It's Brazil, and I'm not saying this. Oh, Argentina fan. No. It's Brazil. I get that, but you look at their team. They have some good players, but no,
Mm.
no,
The
not
only
for me.
other obvious traditional country is Germany, but Germany are in such a weird space at the moment that it doesn't seem
Man,
doable.
that's the other thing as well because Germany since winning the World Cup, it's just been up and down and a lot of like weird stuff. I mean, 4 years ago, 2022. I don't know. Are they still in that rebuilding phase? And I'm being honest, like I'm not making jokes or anything like that. I don't know. I don't watch enough of the Bundesliga to get an idea.
Yeah.
I know some of the players they have, of course, they have some very good players, but I don't know where they're at. They could potentially end up winning it. Who knows? It is Germany, but I don't know if it's the Germany of 20, 30, 40 years ago. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That have that
Or
mentality.
even 2014. Shit.
Or even 10 years ago, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So last question, Roy. Is there anything I haven't asked about Argentina, Argentine football culture, the national team that you find particularly fun or interesting that you think people should know or might want to know?
Something to maybe keep in mind, and this is something that I always kind of think about when people talk about Argentina, especially the national team, is the fact that Argentina have a coach that has won it all. Argentina has a coach that adapts. Argentina have, in my opinion, the best national team goalkeeper in the world, uh, that will do anything and has done anything and everything to win. Argentina have a solid center back duo in Cristiano Romero and Lisandro Martinez, and they have two world class strikers. Obviously, I'm excluding Messi in this. I'm talking just strikers in Julian Alvarez and Lautaro Martinez that can switch it around, and very good players. So keep that in mind. They have a coach that can change things on a dime if he has to. He's done it, and it's a team that knows how to win. And France know how to win. Spain know how to win. It's difficult to make the final it's even more difficult to have that winning mentality and get by. And I think experience is going to play a big factor at this World Cup. We might get some
Cool.
surprises
Oh,
for sure, but experiences will play a role.
definitely. Where can people find you? What's the website?
Yes, you can find me at on X at Roy Nemer, Nemer, and on mundoalbiceleste.com, mundoalbiceleste.com. That's there.
All the links will be in the description. Roy, I always enjoy these. Thank you for taking the time, bro.
Thank you, man. My pleasure. Anytime.
My name is Maher Mezahi. I'm an editor at africasacountry.com, and I also have a YouTube channel where I talk about African football, which is called the African Five-A-Side Podcast.
Indeed. So, how's this World Cup being anticipated by Algerian supporters, firstly?
Algeria is in a weird situation where I would say the vast majority of people, probably including the players themselves, they don't really know what to expect in this World Cup. There are so many question marks all over the pitch. We don't really know how we're going to do. We're just sort of happy to be back at the World Cup because it's going to be 12 years by the time the World Cup kicks off that we last qualified, which is, I think, a bit too long for the kind of quality that we've had, over the last 12 years. We won an AFCON during that period of time. We've had players like Riyad Mahrez show up and sort of be known by the entire world. So just glad to be back, but we don't really know what to expect. So there's a lot of caution in how we're all approaching this World Cup.
See, now that's interesting. So most of the time I'm asking this question. Fans, super happy to be there. Let's see what happens, all of that. Then I ask the question, how's this being covered by media? And that's when I get the skepticism and the let's pump the brakes answers. So it seems that this is kind of both supporter and media? The kind of pessimism or half glass full or just question?
Yeah. I wouldn't go as far as to say, it's definitely not optimism. I'd say like the most hopeful fans are cautiously optimistic. Most people are just sort of in a wait and see mode. Includes fans, I would even say players, definitely includes the media as well. This coach hasn't really been tested. He showed some good things at the last AFCON, but also the match where we were eliminated in the quarterfinals against Nigeria, it was in a large part his own doing as well. Tactically, we were set up horribly, and his in-game adjustments were even worse than that as well. So yeah, we don't know what to think of the coach. He has some strong points, some negative points. There's so many question marks again, from the goalkeeper position all the way to the striker position. So we don't really know what to make of Algeria.
Very interesting. So since this is the first time Algeria has made a World Cup since we've been doing a podcast, I want to know, give me your reading or description of Algerian football culture. Like, how would you describe it to maybe somebody who hasn't been to the country?
Look, if you're looking for a quick answer, I would say that if you're looking at North Africa, in general, they tend to reflect the opposite side of the Mediterranean. So this gives you like a nice, if you're familiar with Western European football, you'll be familiar with North African football. So the Spanish are, I think, most similar to the Moroccans. The Italians are most similar to the Tunisians, and then the French are most similar to the Algerians. So with Algeria, it tends to be very technical players, particularly in the attacking part of the pitch. Obviously, Riyad Mahrez is the name that comes to everybody's lips. But even if you look at players like Yassine Brahimi, Sofiane Faghouli in recent years, in this team, a player like Anis Hadj Moussa at Feyenoord, very, very technically sound, very flashy. They like to dribble. They like to show off. That's the kind of player that Algerians like to watch and that we like to celebrate. At the same time, Algeria also has this bit of, it's not as bad as the Tunisians, but there is a little bit of like, I would almost say like negative play. Like there's a lot of pragmatism in how they approach games. They're absolutely fine winning 1-0, like to keep everything in front of their defensive line, like to crunch tackles, waste time. This is also part of the Algerian style of play as well. So I would say, yeah, it's not the Spanish game. It's not the Italian game. It's probably something in between.
And I've been asking people to kind of play TV doctor for me. And what is your assessment of Algerian football, both domestically and its ability to export players? Would you say it's in a more healthy place or an unhealthy place relative to its own standard?
There's been good progress over the last 15 years. the 2010 World Cup was the one where we were back for the first time in 24 years, from 1986 to 2010. And I remember that 2010 team was one that was, by and large, we were there because of the diaspora, because of these French-born Algerians that were not probably not good enough for the French national team. We sort of got their leftovers, and they came up with this team, and they were very good. I mean, for our standards, again, they got us out of that dead period of 24 years. But around that time, there was a lot of discourse in the country about like we're not producing good enough players, and we haven't been producing good enough players. Things have changed, and they've changed because both the state, so through the federation, they've invested in academies, but even the private sector. And the most famous academy is called the Paradou Academy. And this is responsible for producing Rami Bensebaini at Borussia Dortmund, not Mohamed, Rami Bensebaini, Youssef Attal, who was at OGC Nice, he's in Qatar right now, Hisham Boudawi, also at Nice. Why am I blanking on some names? Adil Boubina is also playing in Qatar. He scored in this round of 16 at the African Cup of Nations. Yassine Titraoui, who's playing at Charleroi in Belgium, who people have very high hopes for as well. So really, for 3, 4 players in the starting lineup are from the Paradou Academy, and we expect more and more every single year. Every year, there's at least 1 to 2 players that are exported to Europe from that particular academy. So things have gotten better, but I think we're still not where we should be for a football-loving nation like this. We're not on the level of a Senegal or Ivory Coast. I would even say we slightly lag behind Morocco at the moment. So better than Tunisia, not as good as Morocco at the moment.
Cool. So, how did Algeria qualify for this World Cup? And then maybe give us a look into what the federation has done post qualification in terms of their preparation.
So the qualifying period was weird for all African teams because I think we started I want to say it was 2024. So it was really a long time ago. And then we played 2 AFCONs before the World Cup. So we played one in 2024 as well. Did qualifying start in 2023? Sorry, I need to look this up.
It was a long time ago. It was a really long time ago.
It really was, like, because we played 2 matches, and then
It feels like it starts immediately after the next World Cup ends. So, like when Qatar ends, it feels like it starts immediately.
Yeah. So the first match was played in 2023, November 2023.
Yeah.
And then we went to an AFCON in 2024. Then we finished qualifying 2024, 2025, and now have qualified, obviously. So point is, like, it's hard to draw one single lesson from qualifying when it spans across such a long period of time. If you go look at that squad from the end of 2023, probably it's nothing like the squad that we're looking at right now. That said, it's also difficult to draw conclusions for most African teams, particularly the heavyweights, during World Cup qualifying because we have an expanded format now. So we have 9.5. Thankfully, this year we're going to have 10 African teams at the World Cup, and because we go from 5 to 10, World Cup qualifying is much easier now than it was, in 2022, 2018, 2014, where we had these cutthroat playoffs. We take basically a top 10 of African football and we say, all right, duke it out for half the places. So we had in our group, like, the toughest teams we had to play against were Guinea, Mozambique. With all due respect, they were never really in our league. As long as Algeria didn't shoot itself in the foot, like, for example, Nigeria did. We didn't really have tough opponents in that. We didn't really have anybody in pot 1 of African football or even pot 2 in African football, in my opinion. We had Somalia in our group. So some of the matches, they were almost like glorified friendlies, honestly. So it was, again, difficult to, like, because when you come up against those teams, you look great every single time. You're not really tested that much, like against Somalia, for example. So it is difficult to draw conclusions. But what I would say is that overall, the main lessons we learned is that, number one, our most important player is not Riyad Mahrez. Despite he's definitely the most famous. He's the leader. He's the captain. He's not our most important player. Our most important player is Mohamed Amin Amoura from Wolfsburg. He led the entire continent in scoring during qualifiers. He scored 10 goals, even more than Mohamed Salah, even though he didn't start all 10 games. So that was one very important thing. The other important thing that we learned is that we didn't really solve the problems. We didn't solve problems that we had at the beginning of qualifying in 2023 until now, which were defending set pieces and aerial balls, defending counterattacks. These were the 2 main problems that we really had, or finding out who our center back pairing is or our defensive midfield defensive midfielder is as well. These are problems that, again, we've been carrying since when we won the AFCON in 2019. So we would hope that, over that qualifying campaign, you would test a few options and you would find who those answers to those questions are. We didn't really find those. So those are the two main takeaways for me: is that Amora, incredible with his pace, and then number two and number is that we didn't really solve our defensive problems.
And then the preparation piece, like how have they decided to play the friendlies, and who might they have scheduled that's going to help tune them up, if you know?
Yeah, so in March we played against Guatemala and Uruguay.
Okay.
Guatemala we smashed. I think it was 7-0.
Ooh.
It was 7-0 or something like that. And we played in Italy. And so again, Guatemala is not a heavyweight, but at the same time, like, you saw what they do against other countries, and even when they play against Argentina and the likes, they're not losing 7-0. So that was a very impressive performance. But then Uruguay was just like this very ugly match, 0-0. Uruguay, they're under Bielsa. They've tripped up a few times now. So we didn't really know what to draw from that particular match. So it's always an interesting one, because the way our federation officials think, they probably think, okay, so we're playing against Argentina, so let's try and think of some Spanish-speaking teams that we can play against. Oh, Guatemala, Argentina. That's what they think, honestly. And we're playing against the Netherlands. They're going to say, oh, Netherlands are kind of close to Austria, so that's probably going to be our preparation for Austria. Again, like, for us, it doesn't make sense. But so we played those two, the Central American and the South American team, in March, and then in June we have one friendly against the Netherlands on June 3rd. And there's discussions that maybe we're going to have one final friendly match once they go to the United States after that June 3rd friendly against the Netherlands. We don't know who the opponent is going to be. It hasn't been announced yet. So 4 friendly matches, not too much squad rotation at the moment. Again, still trying to answer very crucial questions about who's going to play where.
So it seems like you guys have gone back to the Bosnian well. So there was Halilhodžić in 2014, if I remember it correctly, and now since, was it Belmadi? Belmadi was the coach?
Yes.
And now you've gone to Petkovic, who is also Bosnian. So why him? What's the style of play? And are fans happy with him?
Yeah, it's a very tough question. Why him is a good one. I think because he submitted a CV and they were impressed with the CV, honestly. So with Petkovic, it's a weird one. He has extensive experience, like coaching, for example, in Serie A with Lazio, and I think he won Coppa Italia with them. That's pretty cool. He spent a long period of time with the Swiss national team. I want to say it was something like 6 years, with a few decent results, getting out of the group stages of World Cups and Euros. I think 2 times in the Euros, 1 time in the World Cup. I think he knocked out France in one of those European championships as well. So
do you remember the game Pogba had where he was having an amazing game and then Switzerland beat them? Sorry. But yes, that must have been him.
So he has this on his CV, but at the same time, more recently, he had taken over Bordeaux, for example, and Bordeaux fans tell me that was like the worst season they've ever had. And I think they conceded it. I think they said they conceded. I don't want to say something wrong, but I think they almost conceded like 90 goals or something like that in that season. And so they told me with Petkovic, look, you're going to score goals, but you're going to concede goals as well. And effectively, that's pretty much what's happened. With Algeria, we've scored a lot of goals under Petkovic. We've conceded a lot of goals as well. Very rare where we keep clean sheets. So I think his CV is one of the main reason why they thought, he spent long times, with these national team. He has experiences at tournaments like the World Cup. The other options were actually to probably hire Vahid Halilhodžić again. That was the other option, or Carlos Queiroz, who just got signed to the Ghanaian national, Ghanaian national team, exactly. So these are the 2 other options that the federation chose, and we have Petkovic. So are fans happy with him? Look, on one hand, the main criticism against him early on was that he wasn't selecting his own players. He was heavily relying on people within the federation to come up with his 23. It's very rare that he would actually go to local domestic matches and unearth, a gem that's playing somewhere in the domestic league. And there are very good players playing in the Algerian domestic league. He would stick to the same group of players every single time. And so people were very frustrated with that. Even if we had dead rubbers, again, we're playing against Somalia or Mozambique or Liberia in matches that we don't necessarily need to win, or playing friendly matches, he wouldn't experiment or try different players, even though there were a lot of players again that deserved young players in Europe and in Algeria that deserved to be called up. So fans were very frustrated with that. Where he won a lot of plaudits was at the AFCON. At the AFCON, we again had low expectations because the two previous AFCONs we were bounced out in the group stages, which was unforgivable because we were champions in 2019, bounced out in 2021, bounced out in 2023 in the group stages. So in the expanded formats, again, where usually a third place is enough to get you through. So we had very low expectations. We just wanted to get out of the group stages, and he did that with aplomb. 9 points out of 9 in Morocco, playing very attractive football as well. And then getting past DRC as well, which was a tough match in the round of 16 before losing to Nigeria. No shame in losing to Nigeria. They were very good at the AFCON. But the way in which we lost was not acceptable as well. We were completely dominated from minute 0 to minute 90. So there was one just final to wrap up on Petkovic. There's one thing that most people, like a lot of analysts, started to say when he was at AFCON, which I think is kind of interesting, is that they say he might be a good tournament coach. Is there such thing as a tournament coach, like compared to like a league coach, for example? I think there is, because when you're playing a tournament like that, you got to deal with 28 egos over the course of 5 to 6 weeks. You have to know, to play maybe this player in this match to keep him happy because you're fairly confident you're going to win, and you don't know if you're going to need him again maybe until the semifinals or something. You have to be intelligent with how you construct the squad, how you give minutes to certain players. And I think the way he dealt with that was pretty intelligent. His squad management, I would say. The way he responds in press conferences, he gives you absolutely nothing. He's the most boring interview in the entire world out of any other coach that I've ever seen with the Algerian national team. He gives you nothing. Journalists stop going to the press conferences. Now they just go to the mix zone because he gives us nothing. But that's probably good for his players. He's always protecting them. He's always deflecting. So I think he is a good tournament coach, in my opinion. Or yeah, that's what he seemed to show us. At the AFCON, and I think the style of play that he wants to play will lend itself well to the World Cup. But overall, I mean, we still haven't really been tested. And when we've been tested against a team like Nigeria, we failed. So we'll see. Again, there's a lot. The jury's still out on him. There's talks that the Algerian Federation is actually going to extend him. His contract runs out after the World Cup, and they're going to extend him prior to the World Cup, which a lot of people don't understand why they would do that. Let's see what he does at the World Cup, and then we can make that decision. But right now, I would say that the AFCON gained him a little bit of patience and a little bit of points.
Cool. So, as we say, first World Cup since 2014. Algeria won AFCON in 2019. I'm curious which of that older generation are still hanging on, and how good are they? So, particularly, I'm thinking Mahrez, Slimani, Brahimi, Mandy. Like, how many of those are still in the picture? And maybe who of the new generation have emerged in the last few years?
So, the captain and the player that will probably start all 3 matches at the World Cup is Riyad.Maher for sure. He's currently playing at Al Ahly in Saudi Arabia. He won 2 Asian Champions Leagues over there. Last season he was very good. This season a little bit less, even though he seems a little bit physically fitter this time around for the Algerian for Al Ahly. So he's playing in Saudi Arabia. At the AFCON, in every single match he was subbed off after 60 minutes. So there's this impression that his legs are gone. He can maybe give you a bit for 60 minutes. He can give you a halftime speech to sort of rally the troops. Players look up to him. That's absolutely true as well. But he's not probably your best player anymore. So he's still there. He still has a role to play. Definitely, I would say more off the pitch than on the pitch. But he's still around for sure. The other player that is going to be a key player probably is Aissam Mondi. He's the center half currently playing at Lille. He's a player that honestly 2-3 years ago, most people thought he was done with, and that he would probably be playing in Saudi Arabia or something at the moment, but he had a very, very good season with Lille. He's actually been one of the best defenders in the French Ligue 1 this year at the age of 35 or something like that. He's completely revamped his career. Where he's really given us a year that we didn't think was in him anymore. With his leadership and again, even his physical fitness. It seems like these older players, when they realize, okay, like I got to give it 12 more months, my final World Cup, and they actually have a very good season. So his leadership qualities, he'll be the vice captain for the Algerian national team. He's the most capped player ever in Algerian history. I think he's around like 110 caps or a little bit more than that. And he's for a center back, again, there's so many questions we have about the center half pairing. He's definitely one answer there that we can sort of rely on. So we have those two, and I think that's it for the sort of the leftovers from Rami Ben Sabaini was there in 2019. He was a
Okay.
very young
Yeah. Yeah.
player at the time. Now he's 27, 28 years old. He's supposed to be in his prime. He's also there. But other than that, that's pretty much it because Yusuf Belali is suspended. Baghdad Bounedjah is probably going to be excluded. The striker Islam Slimani hasn't been called up for the last since the prior to the Arab Cup. So yeah, for the last year or so, he hasn't been called up. Brahimi hasn't been called up by the Vladimir Pekovic. I think just for the first two matches, and he hasn't been called up since. So yeah, the old guard is kind of gone. Besides
Is
those three players,
is that fun? Kind of getting to see new faces emerge in the past few years, or is it still kind of those question marks? It creates more
for us,
questions.
we were hoping this would happen sooner. For most Algerian fans and journalists, honestly, like there's some of these players they stuck around for way too long. Um, the problem is like the turnover is happening now, but if it happened a year ago, we would have again, I think, much more answers than we do now. We would know if a young player is dependable. We don't really know that right now, like because they haven't really given us. They haven't played 5 times for the Algerian national. They haven't started 5 important matches for the Algerian national team. So I don't know if I can rely on a certain player now. The transition should have happened, in my opinion, prior to this current Afcon. And so it's fun. Who I think we would have enjoyed it more if it happened a little bit earlier. And even like a player like Red Mahrez, I think maybe I'm a little bit harsh on him, but I think most Algerians would probably feel like he probably shouldn't start matches. We would rather he come off the bench and start a player like Enis Haj Musa from Feyenoord than Red Mahrez himself. So again, it's been okay. It's been much needed, but I think it's been too slow for a lot of people.
This tends. I ask this mostly to my fellow African journalists here. Like, has there been any since qualification? Has there been any diaspora commitments to the national team that were maybe on the fence?
This has been one that's actually gone viral yesterday
Oh,
on the
okay.
Algerian sort of online, the internet kind of the cyberspace. Yassine Adli, formerly of AC Milan, Bordeaux, PSG, currently playing in Saudi Arabia as well, has saying that he's open to playing for the Algerian national team. He played under Vladimir Pekovic at Bordeaux, I
Hmm.
think, before going to AC Milan. However, why this is controversial is that a year and a half ago, something like that, or a year ago, he went on a very famous podcast in France. And he said that he would absolutely not be playing for the Algerian national team, that he's waiting for a call up for the French national team. And he's saying, like, I'm just trying to do this with all due respect, he said, because I don't like when players, don't give a clear answer and they're just using the Algerian national team to sort of create a buzz around themselves and to create hype around themselves. He's like, I want to be upfront with everybody. Like I'm just focusing on France. I'll never try to play for the Algerian national teams. Like, and I'm still Algerian. I love Algeria. I'll go on my own time and everything. But like, I don't want to play for Algeria for sporting reasons. And he came back on that now. So it was like, honestly, some people respected it. They're like, you know what? At least he was clear because what people really hate is when
The flip
they
flopping.
don't give, yeah, no, they don't give, or they don't give a response. They just, silent treatment, and they're just waiting, 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 waiting for the French national team. People respected that answer, and now the fact that he went back on it, now they're not respecting it anymore. So he's the main one. But you could even look at a player like the goalkeeper Luka Zidane, Zinedine Zidane's son. Um, he really again waited a long period of time before finally getting his first call up before the Afcon. Um, this is a player that I think if you tried to call him up 3, 4 years ago, would have probably denied the Algerian national team. But he's come around now because he saw that there was an Afcon in the World Cup, uh, coming in the calendar. So yeah, these things they always happen, and there's even it works both ways. So whenever there's a World Cup on the line, I think players are eager to play in a World Cup, whether it's for the French national team or the Algerian national team. People they want to be involved in that. So um, yeah, Yassine Adli's been the main one, but I wouldn't be surprised to see more names.
Okay, I got four quick ones left. Floor and ceiling. How bad can it be? How good can it be given the group with Argentina, Austria, and Jordan?
The floor is probably losing to Argentina, Austria, and drawing with Jordan. I think that's the floor. I don't think we would lose 3 in a row, but I think that's honestly conceivable. That's like Argentina is obviously the world champions, one of the best teams in the world. Austria is a very good team as well, and Jordan is tough. Like these are not easy matches. This is not we're not playing in Somalia anymore. With all due respect,
Somalia's got
my
like
brothers in
5
East Africa.
shots.
Sorry, but I mean like this is like don't get me wrong. Like it was good to see them.
No,
Like
no, no.
I think
Yeah,
they
I
got their
get it.
first victory in this qualifying process. They scored against Algeria in Algeria. They only lost 3-1, but
They were
like
better than I thought they would be for
yeah,
sure.
definitely agree with that as well. Um, the best case scenario is to first of all avenge that match against Austria because in 1982 we defeated West Germany, we defeated Chile, and then we lost to Austria. And I think we're the only team in World Cup history that was eliminated from the group stages with 2 victories because West Germany and Austria sort of colluded. They scored. West Germany scored 1 goal, and then they sort of didn't play football for the next 80 minutes because that's the scoreline that would have kept both teams through. So that's been called the disgrace of Hehan or the shame of Hehan in football lore. So we're playing against Austria again, 34 years later. So it would be, I think, 34? 44 years later. So it'd be, I think, a nice revenge to sort of beat Austria. I have zero hopes that we're going to beat Argentina, but if you can hang on for a draw, that would be cool. And then beat Jordan and make it to the knockout stages. Once you get into the knockout stages, when you're Algeria, you're playing with house money, in my opinion. Like this is not a team. If this was 2020, after we won the World Cup, after we won the AFCON, and we're on a 35 match unbeaten streak, I would say we need to do what Morocco did and try to get to a semifinal or who knows even further. We're not in that position right now. Like I'm just being upfront with you. There are too many question marks. Anything getting out of the group stages would be a success for us. So I think our ceiling would probably be like a round of 16 match, something like that.
Favorite to win the World Cup or favorites to win the World Cup, my hair?
France,
Yes.
Spain, Spain, and then I'm probably gonna. It feels like the Western Europeans, honestly. France, Spain. I want to say Portugal and England, maybe as well. The from the South American teams, I really like Argentina. I really like Ecuador. Brazil, I'm not sure about at all, but Brazil is Brazil. So
Which African team has the best chance, do you think, to go
Senegal,
furthest?
Senegal and Morocco, but I think Senegal. They have no weaknesses. They have a crazy amount of depth. They just have to remain healthy. This is, again, they had really bad luck in World Cups. In 2018, they're the first side ever to be eliminated due to fair play rules, too many yellow cards. In 2022, Sadio Mane is injured, and he's so important to the way they play their football. So and they still get to the knockout stages and they lose to a very good England side. So Senegal, if you look at their AFCON performances, 2017 they lose to the champions Cameroon. 2019 they lose to the champions Algeria in the final. 2021 they win it. 2023 they lose to the champions Ivory Coast, and then 2025, in my opinion, they win it again. So for me, like every time they haven't won it, they lose to the eventual champions. Even if you want to say Morocco are the champions, then okay, whatever. They lost to the champions again. They only win or lose to the eventual winners of this tournament. They've been incredibly consistent. The quality of their squad is top notch. The only thing I'm slightly worried about is the quality of coaching. But to be fair, Paptiao is exceeded expectations, whether it's the Chan or the AFCON. So I really think Senegal is, and Paptiao said it in a press conference. He said, if I didn't think we were going to win the World Cup, I wouldn't be here, like sitting in front of you speaking to the press. And what was crazy about what he said was that there was no ridicule after. Nobody said, he thinks we're going to win the World Cup. Like, not in Senegal and not in the continent and not around the world. People really respect the Senegalese national team. And they really do think that, they have the quality to go very, very far. Maybe at least do what Morocco did last year. I don't know about winning it, but they have the quality to, for sure. So Senegal, I think, are the team that have the best chance to do it. They have obviously a very tough group. But the quality that they have is top notch, and they're very, very solid and interconnected and close knit group. And Morocco, of course, same thing. Morocco, the only thing is, I think I would prefer it if Walid Regragui stayed for this World Cup. They have a coaching change, obviously, and I just don't know what to expect from Mohamed Wahabi. I think he was pretty impressive in the March qualifiers, but one of the reasons why Morocco did so well, I think two main things. Number one, they had that fan support behind them in Qatar. and they're not going to have that in the Americas. They're going to have great fan support, but it's not going to be the same thing as in Qatar. And the number two was that they were, I think, and I think they remain a side that's probably better when they're more passive, when they give up possession of the ball, than when they hold on to the ball and try to break down low blocks, you know. And Wehbi, I think, is more ambitious with his possession football than Regragui. Regragui, I think, is more pragmatic in these big tournaments. So I think Regragui maybe would have been a better coach for the World Cup, in my opinion. And then after the World Cup, I definitely would have signed up to have Wehbi come on because I think Morocco have the quality now where they need to push on and be more affirmative. I just don't know if Wehbi can have them ironed out and affirmative and positive within 3 months, if you know what I mean. So I think
Gotcha.
Senegal won, and then Morocco 1B2.
Cool. Last question. Is there anything I haven't asked about Algeria, Algerian football, Algerian football culture that you find particularly fun, interesting, novel that you think people should know or might want to know?
Uh, Fans are like all North African fans, very passionate, very crazy. I think it's going to be a fun part of them being, you know, at the World Cup is that they're going to provide a really good atmosphere. Unfortunately, because of the American administration, we're not going to see as many leaving from Algeria as we should because if you want to apply for a tourist visa now, you have to give the American embassy 10,000 of your hard-earned dollars, and they keep it on. They keep it like in escrow, and then when you return, they give it back to you. But nobody has who has $10,000 to just say, "All right, you guys hang on to this until I come back." Um, Especially, you know, if you're living here and working
It's
here.
not funny. I
So
shouldn't laugh, actually.
yeah, no, but so the fans. I mean, that's cool, but unfortunately, we're not going to see too many from here. But still, we should see a lot from the diaspora. Um, Zinedine Zidane's son is hopefully going to be playing. He just picked up an injury. He might need surgery for. He might miss the tournament, but if he's available, he'll probably be starting for Algerian goal. So that's kind of a cool thing because Zidane is going to be watching in the stadium, and when the camera cuts to him, the fans always start chanting Zizou, Zizou. So I think that's even when his son makes a save, they yell Zizou, Zizou. So that's that's kind of just a cool thing to have Zidane at the games as well. Then I think just like the technical quality of this Algerian team is very, very high. Um, like one of the TikToks that went viral at the last AFCON was just them juggling in pre-match warm-ups, and they were like juggling with their shoulders, like the sort of the Maradona
The
video.
Maradona, yeah.
Um, but like one player was juggling like 10 times on one shoulder, 10 times on the other shoulder to another one, and just that. And this comes from the Pardew Academy. Just the way they were juggling was people were the comments were, is this Brazil or Algeria? Like, the technical quality of the side from the defenders, even Zidane, like the goalkeeper, his main strength is playing the ball out with his feet. They're going to be playing very good, technical, attractive football. The questions are: can they defend set pieces? Can they defend counterattacks? Can they defend aerial balls? Again, under Pekovic, we're going to score a lot of goals. We're going to concede a lot of goals. So I think they're going to be a fun team to watch. So this is probably another thing that probably people should know.
Where can people find you? Where can people get your work?
So on X, my profile is at and then Mezahi, my last name, Maher, my first name. Or you can go to africasacountry.com, find the sports section. I'm responsible for editing everything over there. Or on YouTube, the African Five-A-Side podcast.
Indeed, all the links will be in the description. Maher, I always enjoy these conversations. Thank you so much, bro.
Thank you, Daniel. Appreciate you.